Good afternoon, class. This is your first flipped lecture for the year, so I hope you enjoy it. First thing you need to do is make sure you've got out your unit notes right here. So you should pause the video until you do that. Now that you have unpaused the video and got your notes out, we're going to start talking about European exploration, which we've already discussed a little bit when we talked about the Reformation and the events that will come from that. So let's look and see, how did these Europeans and their culture get spread across the whole world? So this is a little bit of a review, but we already know the Crusades is what is going to really get the Europeans' interest in these things from Asia, specifically India and China. In China we have the silk and gunpowder and things like that. In India we have specifically spices, but also cotton. We have the Ottomans, who have nice pottery and coffee. There's also obviously the porcelain we call China from China. And the Ottoman Empire and the Italians are going to be the only way that these other Europeans are able to get these items. That's how those Italian merchants get so rich during the Renaissance. And so now we're going to see the other European countries start trying to figure out how they can get all of these things that before they could only get from down here in the Ottoman Empire. And if they wanted to buy it from Europeans, it would be from these Italian merchants. So the first non-Italian group of explorers that are seeking a way to get to India so they can cut the price of these goods down is going to be Prince Henry the Navigator. The way he's going to do this is by establishing a school or university specifically designed to teach people how to explore. So they don't know how they're going to get to India, they're just going to learn how to be the best shipmen they can. And so this is going to be created in Portugal. And the sponsor is going to be Henry the Navigator. He's not actually going to do any of these trips, but he's going to be the one who pays for and trains these other people. So a sponsor of these explorations is like a patron for the artists in the Renaissance time. There's three big reasons you guys are supposed to know for why these Europeans start exploring. First one is going to be gold. The main reason for exploration for these Europeans is to make money. So originally, they're all trying to find a way to Asia, India in particular, so that they don't have to pay extra fees to these middlemen in Italy or the Ottoman Empire. The next is, and we've already hinted at this a little bit, with the 30 Years' War and also the end of the Reformation in England, people are going to start thinking of themselves primarily as being from a specific country, whereas previously they would have thought of themselves as Christian. So we specifically have seen French and English people thinking of themselves as being from that country. We're also going to see Spain and Portugal and the Netherlands and most of the other European countries thinking this way. So this is a way to make your country look good or to glorify your country. And then last, it was a reason, but certainly not one of the main reasons, is to convert these people to Christianity. So, the things that are going to let them explore, the whole bunch of technological advances. One, they're going to have more accurate maps. You guys already know about Christopher Columbus. He's going to actually help get some maps on the other side of the Atlantic, but as they explore, they're keeping maps. The things that are the tools that they use are usually Asian tools. So we're going to start here. They have triangle sails, which we'll look at in a second. They're going to have multiple sails on their ships, which is a new idea. More importantly, astrolabe, which is comes from the Arabs. The Muslim empires used these to navigate through the deserts. These Europeans are going to see these during the Crusades, and they are going to realize, you know, if it works in the desert, we can apply that to the ocean. And then they're going to use a compass, the kind of compass we have today that uses a magnet to help them tell what direction they're going. So these are going to be big advancements that allow them to be more efficient and successful when they explore. Before this, they just sort of been going off and hoping that they hit what they were aiming for. Let me show you this. One big way that you can see all these things in one place is this new type of ship the Europeans use. The Portuguese will be the first one. It's called a caravel. So I'll show you all the different advancements it had. The big one is they've got sails that are going to let them sail against the wind instead of having to just be at the mercy of which way the wind is blowing. So they get this idea again from the Arabs in the Middle East. They're going to have a shallow draft. So this idea is actually taken from the Vikings. The thing that allowed the Vikings to take over so much of Europe was their ships did not need much water. So these ocean-going warships could go up shallow rivers. So the caravel can do that too. It's how we get here in Virginia. They use these types of ships to found us. It's going to be a ship that's easier to maneuver. It moves more quickly than their old ships. And this is good and is sort of secondary, but good. They're allowed to put things below deck now. So if they're hauling tobacco, they can put it below deck. It won't get wet and salty, and it'll be good. And then underneath the stern, you can have sleeping quarters so everybody stays dry, which is a big advancement and would be very important to me if I were one of these sailors. So let's see, who are these explorers? Sorry about that. So first one we already know about, I think, Vasco da Gama. His claim to fame is he's going to sail from Portugal down around here, the southern tip of Africa, and eventually make his way here. So he's going to come up. I believe that the profit margin was 16 times what it cost him to make the trip. So he's going to be the first guy to start in Europe, go around the southern part of Africa, and make it to India. So it's incredibly profitable for him, and so also the Portuguese who are paying for his trip. So he sails around the Cape of Good Hope down here and makes it to India. So you should put this on your map. This is his route, the green route. Right here, the green one is him. And that is also going to lead to the Portuguese putting cannons on their ships to make sure no one else is making this trip. If they see some Spanish or French sailing here, they have cannons on their ship and they will attack these unarmed ships to protect this business they have, kind of the way drug dealers would do with guns today. So he goes south of Africa, the southern tip of Africa. Next, we'll talk about Magellan for a second. Magellan is going to be the first captain to have his ship circumnavigate or sail around the world. So he proves the world is round. Everybody kind of knew the world was round, but nobody had sailed around it. So he's going to prove all of these people dating back to ancient India who had proven mathematically the world was round. So it was not everybody accepted it was round, it's just nobody had proved it before. So he's going to start here in Europe. He is going to sail south of Argentina down here in South America. He goes into the Pacific. He's going to actually end up in the Philippines, and he and a lot of his crew is going to actually be killed here. They meet up with some pretty rough natives. Some of them are cannibals, and Magellan dies. But the rest of his crew is going to make it around Africa and back home. I believe there were only 16 that finished up, so very few of them make it to the end. But he connects two different oceans. And his big achievement is he's the first person to sail around the world or circumnavigate the world and prove that it is round. Let's look at Sir Francis Drake, one of my favorites. He's called a sea dog or a pirate. Whoops. Francis Drake was the second person to circumnavigate the globe. He does it for England. If you see Sir at the beginning of the name, that's going to be somebody who is either English or works for England. So Francis Drake and the English king and queens are going to see all this money coming into Portugal because they can get to India, and they want it for themselves. So he has two big roles in history. He's the second man to circumnavigate the globe, which lets the English then have access to all of these things in Asia. And then he's also going to be instrumental in defeating the Spanish Navy, which is the greatest in the world at the time, which is going to make the English the most powerful navy in the world, thanks to Mr. Drake. Let's look at Jacques Cartier. He sailed for France, and he discovers what today is Canada. He's looking for a way to Asia. Instead, he finds Canada. So he is going to sail down the St. Lawrence River, which is gigantic, and he thought maybe this would take him all the way to Asia. Instead, it takes him down close to the northern parts of the United States. He's going to start the city of Quebec and set up some trade posts here with the natives. So instead of really colonizing, what they do is they're just there to make money with the natives. So we have all these different countries exploring. They're all in North and South America. They're competing for everything. So the Pope is going to teach them, you need to share. So in the Treaty of Tordesillas, he's going to draw a line down South America. It says Spain gets one side, Portugal gets the other, and it allows them to keep on exploring without a fight. So today, basically, these colors that are not this pinkish color were given to the Portuguese, and so this country of Brazil speaks Portuguese today, and these people all speak Spanish because it was given to the Spanish by the Pope during the time of exploration. So the five big countries, we have Portugal, who is doing it for purely economic reasons. We have Spain, who is they're setting up colonies and also hoping for riches, but also spreading their religion. England is going to start off purely for money, but then they end up getting some religious motivation as well. They're going to go to North America mostly, the United States and Canada today. Holland, the Dutch are going to, at one point, actually have the biggest exploration empire, but it's all just selling things, so they don't leave people behind. And then France is going to be one of the big players, and they start off purely doing it to trade with the natives, but they're also going to start colonies, mostly in the Caribbean and South America. So, we're going to learn a little bit about the Spanish exploration in South America next, particularly Mr. Cortez and Pizarro. If you have any questions, please make sure you ask me before we move on to anything else.